Hi, good afternoon, everybody. We'll just give it a couple more minutes to allow people to join. But welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We'll get started shortly. So yeah, I think we're still expecting a few more, but I think most people have joined, so we'll probably get started in the next sort of minute or so. But yeah, thanks for joining. Hopefully you'll find this interesting this afternoon. It's quite an exciting new development that we've got, and I'm really pleased to share it with you guys this afternoon. So hopefully you'll find it really interesting and insightful. Okay. All right. So I think we'll get started. So yes, welcome to our webinar. And as you can see, the title of which is to maximize your B2B product sales growth with the growth engine, which is a brand new extensive feature in the prospect CRM system. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. It's something we're incredibly proud of, and we're certain is unique within CRM systems, and is a tool that I'm going to show you today, describe and then show you, and hopefully you will agree that it's a tool particularly for SME B2B companies to really help them grow their businesses. So let's just run through quickly what we're going to cover. What is the growth engine? Fair question, because it's a name we've given it, and it covers various different areas of the business. So we'll run through what it is. I'll also cover up why we feel it's the perfect tool for companies that sell business to business and particularly sell physical products. We'll hear from in terms of recommendations and some people that we've got using it already. We ran a kind of an early adopter, a beta program for our existing customers, and released this in a pre-launch and got some feedback and improved things. And so hence we're launching it now. So we'll just run through a bit of that with some customers that have been on that program with us. And then I'm going to give you a demonstration of this growth engine in a system with some data in it. And then we'll show you how you can try it for free. And that might seem like it's not something that would make a lot of sense in terms of once you see the kind of data that's in it, but I'll explain how that can work. And then we're going to have a live Q&A at the end. So I'm going to turn my camera off for now. My name's Stuart McLaren, though, and I've been with the Prospect CRM company for the last 25 years. And so hopefully I have a good bit of experience in running through this with you and why you might want to use it. So we said, what is the growth engine? As I mentioned, it's a name that we've given it, but so we're introducing the CRM growth engine basically to our prospective customers. As I mentioned, we've already launched it to some existing customers, but it's a new CRM tool, and it's within the Prospect CRM system, and it helps businesses grow revenue by perhaps both attracting new customers, if that's where you should be focusing your growth, but also maximizing the lifetime value of existing customers. And so it uses your data and up-to-date industry benchmarking data to identify where your performance of your business is relative to your peers in similar industries on multiple kind of granular sales metrics. So it really gives you some insight into where you can put some focus on your business to improve your revenue and hopefully grow your revenue. So it effectively transforms the CRM system really, and both the CRM system data and the ERP data, or your back office data, into some much more digestible charts, if you like, that calculate your progress in what we determine to be the 7 growth strategies for businesses like yours. So those 7 growth strategies are to attract, which obviously is attract more customers, new customers, to sell, so to go through the process of selling to those customers. So attract is the marketing, sell is your sales team that go through the sales process and then hopefully close and actually take an order from a customer. Then onboarding we'll talk a lot more about later on, but closing a customer, a brand new customer, to place a single order with you in the B2B world is never, or should never be, the end of it. Hopefully I'm going to build a relationship and get them to buy multiple times from me. So I need to onboard them and make sure that they come back for a second, third, fourth, etc. order from me and become a regular customer. So that's the onboarding section. Then we want to look at our average order values and try and get those to increase over time by cross-pollinating products within customers and increasing our average order values. And the order frequency, so how often people buy from me. I want to get them hopefully to buy as often as possible and more often than they start buying. And then the retention of customers. I want people to carry on buying from me for as long as possible. So those are the 7 growth strategies, and using a clear kind of upward, flat, or downward trend to analyze the business performance in each of those, you can then precisely kind of pinpoint the area in which you should put the most focus on for improvement, particularly when we can benchmark it for you against other companies in the same kind of industries as you, so you can see exactly where the maximum growth is, and therefore your effort should be put in. So that's what the growth engine is. The other question is, why is it the perfect tool for B2B product sellers? And so, why did we build it? Why build a growth engine? And certainly over the years with the customers that we've built up, in the SME sector particularly, quite often the owners, managers, managing directors, CEOs of SME businesses have a passion for what the business does. They're artisans, engineers, and understand their products and the marketplace, and how to sell their products, or how to build their products, or how to configure their products. So they understand a lot about the business from that perspective, but don't necessarily always have come to it from a business management perspective. So, typically they're not sort of MBA management students that have gone on to a management career running businesses with masters in business administration. And so if over the years, when we ask people what's the way that you want to build and grow your business, quite naturally, and perhaps the most obvious place to start with people is that they say, I want to get more customers, I want to get new customers. And it's kind of a natural reaction, and it's not entirely wrong, but quite often when you are able to look at the data in their business, actually the big opportunity is to sell more often and for longer to the existing customers they've got. So I mean, certainly, businesses do need to attract new customers, but fixing what we call kind of a leaky bucket, if I've got customers going out the door quicker than they should, or just placing one order and they're not coming back, there are actually easier areas. Acquiring new customers is perhaps the most expensive and difficult part of running a business. And so we should make sure that we've attacked all the other growth possibilities, perhaps, before we come back and spend a lot of money on marketing and trying to attract new customers. we're absolutely not saying don't do that, but you'll see in a minute when we look at some of this data that it's surprising how many other opportunities there can be. And so, if acquiring customers is vital, quite often, there aren't, without the CRM system, there aren't clear statistics actually to measure how effective I'm being with my customer acquisition, or how many I'm acquiring and how much I've spent on it, and how long I then hold on to them and all those sort of things. Or indeed decent statistics to measure the actual customer lifetime value. And so maybe you can calculate these with data that you've already got, but it's probably a lot of spreadsheet work. And without knowing what's good, is a 10% close rate on the inquiries I generate good, or should it be 20%, or would 5% be great and therefore 10% is fantastic, or should it be 50%? So without knowing what good looks like, it's actually quite difficult to use those statistics, even if you manually calculate them. So then, the question is, if I've managed to derive these statistics, where am I going to prod in the business? What am I going to change to improve? And is it improvable, or am I just sort of banging my head against a brick wall because we're already doing a good job in that area, or I'm focusing on the close rates when actually it's the opportunity generation that's the problem, and so on and so forth. So what this growth engine is going to give you is actually a focus, yes, on customer acquisition, but also critically the customer lifetime value. So, when CRMs are the obvious place to run sales growth activities. And sales growth is about maximizing the acquisition and the customer lifetime value. And so the growth engine analyzes your performance against both attracting more customers and maximizing customer lifetime value, simply because it uniquely integrates the CRM and the ERP data that's required for that analysis across the whole lot. And as I say, without the kind of integration that we've got to the back office systems that you guys use, you're not going to be able to see this anywhere else without a whole load of spreadsheet and manual work. I'm talking hours and days. And so thinking back to those sort of 7 areas of growth, and if we kind of boil that down into the 2 main areas that we just mentioned there, the growth formula for businesses like yours is to add more customers and to increase the customer lifetime value. And that's what's going to achieve sales growth. I need to do both those things. Adding more customers to a leaky bucket isn't going to help anything. And so we kind of look at those, adding more customers and then increasing the customer lifetime value in symphony together with our growth model. And so you'll have all seen, this kind of funnel of doing business a million times, I'm sure, where we put in marketing inquiries in the top, be that through doing an e-shot, having a form on my website, going to an exhibition, advertising in a magazine, whatever my methodology is, cold calling, the sales guys just cold calling. I'm putting inquiries in the top to attract more people. So I want to measure, how we're doing in attracting. Then we need to qualify those and decide which one of those are quality leads through looking at our kind of, ideal customer profile and all those sort of things. And a lot of people call these SQLs, sales qualified leads, and we pass them to the sales team, who then go through the selling process, whatever that is. Whether it's meeting with a customer or just speaking to them on the phone or sending them some samples to try, whatever your sales process is, we go through that sales process, and I want to monitor and manage that in the CRM and the different steps and know which opportunities got to how far through those steps. And then hopefully with some of them, we close the sale and we get a first actual order rather than a sample order out the bottom of the funnel. And so that's kind of a sales success. I've got a new customer, they've placed their first order with me. Now, the problem for a lot of businesses, particularly in the SME product sector, is that exercise that you're looking at there, funnily enough, for some businesses, quite a few, can be a loss-making exercise. By the time I've spent the money on the marketing, my sales team, and so on, if I'm, for example, selling, coffee beans to coffee houses, if their first order is a bit tentative and they order 5 bags of coffee beans from me, all of that effort probably isn't going to be paid for by the profit on 5 bags of coffee beans. So that's why we then go on to try and make sure that we onboard those customers, because that's absolutely critical that they don't just place one order and then never come back to me again. And so we need to know which customers are the new customers that placed one order, and I need to give them some special love and make sure that they go on to place a second, third, fourth, etc. order. In actual fact, the statistics for SME product-based businesses is that up until the 4th order, there is less than 50% likelihood that that customer will place their next order. At the 4th order, that is the tipping point at which it goes over 50%, and it is more than 50% likely that they will now place their 5th order once they've placed 4 orders. So 4 orders is the tipping point at which you could say a customer becomes, or we become embedded as a supplier to that customer. And so that's the critical point that we look at. Have I got the customer to placing their first 4 orders? And then we can consider them to be onboarded and put them into the normal account management process. But up until that point, we need to make sure that we don't have a leaky bucket. And then down at the bottom is your account management process, but with some extra tools to look at average order values, the order frequency, and how long I'm retaining customers for. And that flywheel is the real motor of revenue for the business in B2B SME product businesses. And so that's where quite a lot of the focus is, to look at, to make sure that I'm selling as many products as often as possible and for as long as possible to all of my customers. And so these are the stats that we're going to delve into. And should, at the end of all this, you decide that you want to have a go with the Prospect CRM system, and obviously I'd encourage you heartily to do so, our onboarding team actually will run through this growth playbook with you. And by looking at your growth engine, you'll be able to see, which areas out of all of these 7 you should be focusing on. And here are some real actionable insights that you can do. So if it's apparent that the onboarding is the problem, then here are the strategies, quick and easy things to do at the bottom, more planning configuration required as you go up the column, but things that you can do in the CRM system to improve your statistics in that particular area. If your average order value is the problem, it's declining, or it's not as high as you want it, you can look at these strategies, and so on and so forth. And so our onboarding team will go through this growth playbook, and there's real actions that you can take here depending on what your growth engine is telling you. So the growth engine itself, it's made up really of hopefully the strategy, and you'll find that in our growth hub online. I'll give you directions how to get there a bit later on. So that it's the growth formula, the growth model, and the growth playbook, those things that I've just shown you. And then insight, which you'll find in the CRM system with the growth metrics, the benchmarks, and the dashboards that we're going to have a look at in a second. And then actions, which you saw on that previous slide, but some of those are found in the Growth Hub that describe exactly what you should do based on the results in your growth engine, and some you'll find in the CRM features. For example, we use a bit of AI to monitor customers' regularity of placing orders, and we're able to plot what their normal pattern looks like. And if they fall outside that pattern, we pop them up on a list for the account manager to say, you need to speak to this customer. They should have placed an order by now based on their history. So, yeah, something's happened. Maybe the buyer's on holiday, maybe, maybe they left, maybe a competitor's got in there or whatever, but they've fallen outside their normal buying pattern with you, and you need to jump on that straight away. So some of it's in the CRM already for you, but there's also a whole load of stuff on the Growth Hub to help you action the insights that you're getting from the strategy in the growth engine. So this growth engine, what gives us the right to put it together and tell you that it's the way that you should be focusing your business. It isn't just us, is the short answer. As in our software engineers and management team, it's actually been built over a long time. In fact, Matty, pictured top left there, is on this webinar as well, and he'll be able to tell you how long he's been working on it. But it's a knowledge transfer partnership that we've been running with Oxford Brookes University. So it wasn't just developed by our CRM experts. It was actually a collaborative project with Oxford Brookes University Business School. It's had a significant grant actually from Innovate UK, a government body. And they're charged, by the way, with stimulating growth through innovation. And so behind the growth engine are a team both of computing, AI, and mathematical modeling experts that you see in front of you here. And so, it's a serious piece of work that's been done over a long time that we're incredibly proud of and excited to be launching, because especially the initial feedback from existing customers that we've given early versions to has been really empowering for them and exciting for us. And so hopefully, you guys will find exactly the same if you get to have a look at the growth engine on your business. So I mentioned that we've launched it already to some customers, and they do love the growth engine. I've got just a couple of quotes here actually from two customers that were on the early adopter program and helped us refine some things in it. But LampSource, a company that provide a lot of electrical equipment, but lamps, particularly bulbs, so on. And yeah, Ralph Porter, who's the sales manager there, I was incredibly excited about the information he was getting and how it would help him have a bit of laser focus to drive growth in his business. And then Mark Morley, To Be Heard, as you might imagine, do hearing aids and so on. But yes, they've just started using it, and customers have only just started using it because this is a brand new feature. So the growth engine is great. We've been able to use this data manually up until now, which is a major job and nigh on impossible, I would suggest, in a lot of businesses. So yeah, I mean, it's been well received, so I'll obviously take my life in my hands and give you a live demo on some data. So I've got a system here. Let's just flip over to it. And I've got the growth engine open on this system. And so this is what it looks like. It's on the left-hand side of the menu. There's all the other CRM functionality, and I'm not doing a CRM demo today at all particularly. I might dive off and show you a couple of other bits that help support the growth engine if I get a bit carried away, but I'll be conscious of time. And so this is the growth engine and what it looks like. And it starts with the overview for your business. So these graphs are set at the moment to trailing 12-month periods. And you can look up what trailing 12-month means, but it kind of smooths out the spikiness of monthly. So if I change this to monthly, you'll see it'll be quite a bit more spiky, and that's showing each month individually. This is a trailing 12-month trend that basically, is saying that they're now at 5.63 million in terms of revenue. And it's been steadily climbing, by, basically £1 million over the last year. And so that's giving them, some good statistics. This business obviously is in a growth phase, and they've added £1 million to their turnover in the last year. And they've clearly done that by acquiring a lot of customers. And so their customer acquisition is also a trend that's going up. This is quite interesting because this is real data. I mean, I'm not going to give you the customer's name, and I'm not going to show you any specific data, but they actually deployed the CRM system in March this year. They bought in about October time and just started doing a bit of testing then, and actually went live sort of somewhere between January and March this year. So, and that makes a good point that because we integrate and connect to their back office, we've got history that goes back a lot further here than the CRM system. We pick up the full history of all the orders that have gone through their back office system. In this case, it happens to be Unleashed, I think these guys use, but you can see on our website we connect to lots of different ERP systems, and most of the ones provided by the Access Group. We're part of the Access Group, but several others as well, Xero and some other inventory management systems, Sin7 and so on and so forth. And so as far back as your history goes, when you fire up a new prospect CRM system, we'll bring in all that history, and straight away, particularly this overview, we'll be able to calculate for you your growth in terms of the turnover, because we'll be able to see it with your history. The customer acquisition, so this is customers placing their first order. We can see that, and the customer lifetime value. And that's maybe something that's slightly more concerning in this customer. I mean, you've got to look at the scale, because this scale will adjust based on your data, and it's perhaps not as horrific as it might have been, but they started where each customer's lifetime value was about 160,000. So for however long they held on to the customer, that was their total spend with them. And it's dropped down now to about 135 in the last month. It did peak up here at about 180. So that's worth looking at. And there's customer retention strategies. But customer lifetime value doesn't just mean retention. It could be that my average order value has been falling, or that the frequency has been extending. And so we can look at all of those statistics in deeper reports in the CRM. And again, we can look at this, on a monthly basis, and it's a trend clearly that has been dropping. Benchmarks are worth looking at. And so this company is in the health and beauty industry. And so they can benchmark themselves against the other SMEs in the health and beauty industry. And actually, they're not doing bad here when you look at that. So this is the benchmark, the graph at the bottom here, and their actual is pretty much near the top of their industry benchmark. And again, in terms of a benchmark for customer acquisition, they're at the top or above pretty consistently for their industry. So, these benchmarks are useful because whilst this might have been concerning, and definitely they have dropped somewhere below the top level, actually, they're still pretty well up in terms of the benchmark and customer lifetime value. So, it's not a kind of a press the panic button. They can look at the region as well, or just global. So, actually for their region, they're down the bottom somewhere, which is quite interesting. So that's all businesses by region, though. So that is analytics based on the data from my ERP system. And so even if you take a free trial with us, you'll be able to see this data straight away. The only data in this that relies on you using the CRM system are these next three, which is the selling process. So for attracting, you can see they did a bit of testing at the end of last year and then really started using the system in anger through this year. This is looking at how many new inquiries have been logged in the system. And so, they've really started ramping up their inquiries. And those inquiries can come in through multiple means, but particularly useful in the prospect CRM system is our web forms. So, when somebody makes an inquiry on your website, you can place a form on there from the CRM system and it'll feed straight in as a new inquiry into the CRM system. So then we look at the selling and how many of those inquiries turned into opportunities. And actually, initially, they had a massive number of inquiries. I suspect this probably was their starting point where they transferred over some existing inquiries. And then it's sort of been flattening out. But actually, it depends on the business, but kind of, 30 to 40 to 50 new customer acquisition opportunities. And these are where I mentioned sales qualified leads. That's what we're looking at here. Is perhaps not a bad thing for this customer. They've got a downward trend because they started with a boost of probably an import from, the sales guys' existing opportunity they were working on. And then their close rates, which has been a bit spiky, to say the least. But more recently, close to 100% close rate. So we probably want to look into this in a bit more detail and make sure that the sales guys understand what they're doing with the opportunities. More importantly, this onboarding though. And again, this data now you would get straight away if you took a free trial of our system. So this is saying in the higher blue column, how many customers have placed their first order, they're new customers. So how many new customers have we had? And then in the darker blue, how many have placed their fourth order, that critical tipping point. And you can see this is a definite area that this business could improve on. So they've got a big gap basically every month between customers placing one order and customers placing their fourth order. So this is a definite area, and there's a guide here to improve the onboarding, and there's some actionable insights in the growth playbook as well on how to improve this onboarding. So to make sure that more of these customers don't just place one order and then move on, but actually become a regular repeat customer. This is a potential massive area of growth for this customer. So, if I were looking at these statistics, this would be the area that I would start with to help improve my revenue by getting, they spent a lot of money on getting these customers. We saw the inquiries they were generating. They were doing great at that. The problem they've got is a leaky bucket, basically, of new customers getting on board and buying I've convinced them to place their first order, but they're not placing their fourth orders. Average order values has been steadily declining, but again, look at the values on the y-axis there, and I don't know the business in detail, but they've gone over the last trailing 12 months from £840 an order to 660. And it may be that they've introduced some lower cost products and they're putting those on all the orders. Who knows? But it's definitely worth looking at. For nearly £200 an order drop, that is another area that probably is worth just trying to make sure our customers dropping off buying my more expensive things. That have we got our pricing slightly wrong, or whatever? Why is my average order value dropping? Good news though, my order frequency, customers are buying more often. Again, it's a fairly tight gradient that we've got here in terms of people on average were placing 1.91 orders a month, back in September 2023, and now they're placing just over 2 orders per month. So I mean, it's a good trend. Can I increase that a bit more, perhaps? And then retention has been, I mean, it's actually flat overall. We started with an average of, I mean, this is incredible retention, 8.5 years for customers. It went up and it's back to sort of 8.3 years. So, I think this is not an area of concern, I would say. If I'm hanging on to customers that keep buying from me for an average of 8 years, then I think I haven't got a customer retention problem. So that is a set of statistics. This is a real data for a real customer. And, already we've been able to see there some areas where they could definitely put a bit of focus and create a real difference in the business in terms of the revenue. So key features and benefits. Let's just run through that quickly. When you deploy this, you will get personalized data analysis across all of those 7 growth strategies. 3 of them, as I say, will require you to use the CRM, but the rest you'll get through our integration with your back office system and the way that we analyze it, which is probably differently to how you've seen it before. So this growth engine automatically creates data-driven insights and using, as I say, that back office data. And it measures this performance with this trailing 12 months. So it gives you a really accurate insight that isn't skewed by a seasonality. So even if you have massive Christmases going on, this trailing 12-month statistics will show you the true trend without worrying too much about seasonal changes that can, make a bit of a nonsense of some statistics unless you apply this kind of trailing 12-month measuring system. You saw that those charts were very digestible. You can even actually zoom in on particular sections if you wanted to. So I can zoom in on a particular section of it if I wanted to. But they're quite digestible and it shows exactly what's happening performance-wise for the business. The benchmarking is critical because I think, that tells you, particularly the industry one. I mean, region, as we saw there, can be a little bit less useful depending on where the averages are, for the whole region. But by size of business, certainly, and by industry is really useful information. And so it identifies, as we did there for that customer, the opportunities for growth and improvement. And so you can, go and discover these actionable advice to improve performance. So where can you find some of that? Well, the Growth Hub is the place, really. I'm hoping that I'm going to encourage you all to take a free trial. And when you take a free trial, on any of these graphs, actually, you can click on the guides at the bottom, and that'll take you to the Growth Hub. Or you can get it through our help system. So if we go into our documentation and just focus down the bottom here, I think that's actually on the next slides, but I'm going to show you for real. So here's the Growth Hub, and then it goes through each of those 7 strategies, and then some information on clustering and benchmarks and so on and so forth. So you can get at it multiple ways, actually. As I just said, visiting the help docs as well, exactly as I've just shown you. Or you can ask our digital assistant, and you'll notice there's a chat bot that sits there permanently in our CRM system, and that is always available to any free trialist or users to go and either search the help or ask a question of our digital assistant. And our digital assistant in here is answering almost 60% of questions with a really high satisfaction rating from customers. We've put a lot of effort into making it one of the most intelligent assistants that you'll come across. Ultimately, you can speak to a human if you need to, though. So how can you get your hands on this valuable and incredible information? You can try it for free. If you go to our website, prospectsoft.com at the bottom here, on the home page, you'll see there's a take a free trial. And if you take a free trial, you'll, depending on which ERP system you've got, it's a wizard that'll connect it to your back office system and automatically bring in all the data. For some of the more complex, bigger systems, you'll click a button and it'll send us a message, and there might be some things that we need to do for you. But for Xero Unleashed, Access Financials, Sincero, and all those kind of relatively common systems, you'll click a button and it'll connect. It'll bring in that data, and then when you go to your growth engine, you over here, as I was showing you, you'll have the data for everything except these 3 CRM-driven statistics. So hopefully you'll feel it'll be worth taking a free trial, even if it's just to have a look at this growth engine. It's, as I say, it's a 14-day no obligation trial. So if you go to prospectsoft.com, you can take a free trial there, and it is completely free. You don't need to put in any credit card details or anything to take the free trial. And hopefully you'll be able to use this growth engine to affect your business in a positive way, even in that 14-day free trial. So we're incredibly excited about it. We know it's a unique feature. There's nothing like this in any other CRM system. And as I've said, our existing customers have been incredibly excited to get it and use it, finding it really making a manifest difference to their business. So thank you for your time. I probably overran a little bit from what I was planning on, but I know we had an hour originally in the diary. I'm quite happy to take any questions. I think Jess, our head of marketing, is also on the webinar. Let me put my camera back on. And as I said, Matty, who's one of the team that have built this, he's actually the AI expert particularly, is also here. So feel free to, there's a Q&A button on the meeting controls. Feel free to put any questions in there if you have any. And
I'll fire some across, I think, Stuart, if that's okay. There's already a couple in there.
Let's go for it.
Whilst everyone's sort of adding some more. So sort of what couples of similar ones around, what kind of user would be most appropriate for actually accessing the growth engine? So, what type of role would you recommend kind of looks at the growth engine regularly?
Sure. Yeah, great question. I think, I guess, it naturally is a management tool, really, I suppose, and particularly for a kind of a sales manager or a managing director or a sales director, that wants to analyze where the growth opportunities are in the business, and then, apply their team to carry out the actions that are going to affect that growth. But a lot of things in the Prospect CRM system can be open to pretty much any users. And I think, historically, certainly we've shared as much information with as many of our staff as possible about the business, because it never ceases to surprise me, the insightful comments you can get, and the intuition and advice and ideas that come out of staff that see more data about the business. So I'd say I'd leave it open for everyone to see, but definitely from a kind of a focused sit down perspective, for growing the business, I guess it's a kind of a sales director, managing director type thing, really.
Yep, definitely. Thank you. Just you mentioned about the benchmarking and kind of a couple of similar questions coming in about sort of where that data basically is derived from. So where we're kind of getting that benchmark data from.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Matty's probably as good to answer that as me, but I mean, it's actually from people that use the CRM system. So globally, we aggregate and anonymize the data. So, there's literally no detailed data in there at all. It is all anonymized and aggregated. And then we can split it by industry type, but there's no individual transaction or customer or any detail in there at all, other than, the numeric statistics. And I think, Matty did a lot of the work on that actually to get those benchmarks to be really useful to people. So yeah, it is real companies in similar industries doing real business, the same as you are, but all aggregated and anonymized.
Thanks, and thank you. I know you sort of did touch on this, Stuart, but just for those that may kind of few people joined a little bit later, but just about how can I get access? Do you get it on the
Sure.
trial? Do you get it once you subscribe, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Coming up a little bit.
Yeah, it's it's kind of it's not the intuitive thing that you would be able to get this on a trial, because it looks like it relies on a whole load of data that you might be putting into a CRM system, but actually, because of our integration, the fact that we bring in all the history that you've got in your back office system, providing you've got well, actually, I think, Matty, it's more than a couple of months. You'll get something. You'll get a monthly stat at least. But if you've got a couple of years worth of data, then you'll get the trailing 12-month stats on everything except the actual CRM attract, sell, and close statistics. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So you can get a couple months straight away as long as you've got a couple months there to pick from, and then as you go about and you've got more data building up, it'll eventually switch into the trailing 12 months, and then you'll be able to toggle between the two views as long as there's data coming through there.
Yeah. So as long as you've been using your back office system, for a minimum of a couple of months, but
yeah,
the longer the better. And if we're bringing as much data as you've got in there. So yeah, if you've had it for 5 years, we'll bring in 5 years worth of data, and you'll get the full trailing 12 months statistics to work on.
Great, thank you. Just one that's popped in as well. Maybe one for Matty. Just how do you see the growth engine benchmarking working with businesses with niche markets? So about the benchmarks and how we group them.
Yeah, so I guess this sort of like feeds into what we were saying there, really, about the idea of the benchmarks are being built using the prospect customer base. So the likelihood is there'll be customers who have similar types of business strategies or businesses as a whole to what you are offering. So being able to pick and compare to those is going to introduce a lot more value to your teams, rather than using an external third-party provider for data. And then you might think to yourself, well, what's the value I can get from benchmarks? Well, there's loads of different things you can look at, really. You can sort of determine your targets. You can sort of help you drive into, are you hitting your targets as a sales team? Do you have the correct allocation of resources? Are there different niche ways that you can improve as a team as a whole? So using those benchmarks could bring a lot of value to your teams, particularly around sort of the identifying the areas for growth in yourselves, really. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's and you guys know your business. So if you're in a real niche, I mean, we have a defined list of industries that you'll pick from when you take a free trial, and that's the benchmarking data that we'll look at, because we've had to define different industries. But there's some broad ones, like we have a kind of a other electrical,
yeah,
and that benchmarking data, you'll know yourselves if what you sell is high quantity, low value. you might not be so concerned if your benchmarking for average order value is lower than the benchmark, because you know that, you know, compared to other electrical in general, and you'll see the industry benchmarking that you're in terms of the category, you know, so you'll know that other electrical could include, you know, big machines with thousands of pounds, you know, and, you know, diodes at a few pence. So, you know, obviously you need to use this benchmarking with a degree of intelligence, but yeah, I mean, the less niche you are, the more appropriate it is, for sure. The more niche you are, the more likely you're to be in what we would call a more general benchmarking category. Cool.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
guys. I think that's it for the questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for attending. I hope you found that useful, and are encouraged to take a free trial. As I say, it's a free trial. It's going to show you some data, hopefully in the growth engine, that would be useful to you either way, whether you decide to go ahead with the Prospect CRM system or not. But thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting you on a free trial. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.
Okay, everyone. Bye-bye.